Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning comes out this week in theaters, so it's time to dive in and rank every Mission Impossible movie from worst to best. And my number 8, Mission Impossible 2. This is a movie that I appreciate, I think is fun. The John Woo action is highly stylized. If that's your cup of tea, this is probably a lot higher on your list. If it's not, it's probably at the bottom like mine. Number 7, probably a controversial take, but Mission Impossible. I never grew up with this one. I watched this one very late into the game when I was trying to catch up on this entire franchise. How much more slower and meandering it is. I like the dialogue moments, and I think Brian De Palma does a really great job in the terms of the way that he's telling the spy story, but it's not one I care to revisit. But my number 6 is Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. The climbing the building, one of the best sequences. I love the usage of the gadgets. I think Brad Bird revitalized once again this franchise and adding an awesome new tone. And for me, I think this film is great. Let me get into my number 5, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which should be the final Mission Impossible movie for at least Ethan Hunt. I'm telling you right now, if we get more, I'll probably be a little bit disappointed because of how emotional, how finale this felt. You can't go any bigger than what Ethan Hunt did in this. And while this is a much more slower paced movie than the previous Mission Impossible films, it is one that harkens back to the tone of Mission Impossible 1. It even has elements from Mission Impossible 3 and specifically brings to the Mission Impossible 7 from Dead Reckoning. Yes, I know a lot of people come to Mission Impossible for the stunts, but it's also the character work that for me is what separates this from a lot of other spy genres. And Final Reckoning is its emotional conclusion in terms of some of the character development and also finality to some of the characters and the emotional ties that you get to them. And my number 4, Mission Impossible 3. For me, this is up here high enough because of Philip Seymour Hoffman, who for me is the best villain in the entire franchise. I wish we would have had more of him, but for me, everything with the rabbit's foot, what they did with Ethan Hunt's character, leads this to be one of my favorite Mission Impossible films. And number 3, and that's Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. Christopher McQuarrie took control of the franchise here with Tom Cruise, and very much so into a great way. I love Rogue Nation. It's one of those movies that I've actually come to appreciate more and more. It used to be a little bit lower on the ranking, but through the years, I've just really come to love it. We get into my number 2, controversial. I know people probably have this a lot lower on theirs, but after seeing The Final Reckoning, it only grows my love, and that is Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning for me is like the Infinity War to this franchise because yes, while it is set up, it is a ton of action. It is a ton of movement, and it is a film that just hits the gas pedal and just goes and never stops. For me, the character depth and the building of that is fantastic. The only thing I don't like about this movie is Rebecca Ferguson's death, which I think was good, but I wish they would have just meandered a little bit more on it, specifically because of how much she meant to Ethan Hunt. It's the only reason I can't move this into my number 1. Speaking of getting better than the last, my number 1 is Mission Impossible: Fallout, which is one of the best action films of all time in terms of characters, in terms of action set pieces, in terms of just high velocity and what they're able to do. This is everything culminating in